touching somebody while they read. He figured out what she was doing. He says, no, Victoria, that's not how you learn to read. I'm going to teach you how to read. And he taught my grandmother to be a reader. And even though my grandmother worked as a domestic her whole life, she cleaned other people's houses, she was a reader. She had 10 children. My mom was the youngest of her 10 kids, and she insisted that all of her children be readers. And my sister and I, who's here tonight, we would go visit our grandmother, and sometimes, even in the winter months, when we pulled up, my grandmother would come out on the porch with a stack of books, and she would make you read something before she would let you in the house. And she did that because she knew that we had to do something to fight for our freedom and justice. We grew up in a poor, racially segregated community. I started my education in a colored school. They didn't let black kids attend the public school when I was a little boy. Lawyers had to come into our community and make them open up the public schools by enforcing Brown versus Board of Education. And because those lawyers did that, I got to go to high school. I got to go to college. I got to go to law school. I wouldn't be here if those lawyers hadn't done something in our community. But even in our poor, rural, racially segregated community where most of the people worked in the poultry plant, you didn't see much hope outside the door. My mother did something when we were children. And I didn't understand it at the time, but my mother bought us the World Book Encyclopedia. And we had those books in our house. And I didn't understand it when I was 10, because you know, Christmas comes along, you're 10 years old, you go outside, your friends are like, well, I got a basketball, I got a baseball, I got a bicycle. My sister and I, we would have to say, well, we got volume G of the World Book Encyclopedia. But we are here tonight because we were given something by people who did something to advance freedom. You're in Montgomery, Alabama. And in this community, every African American in 1955 committed to staying off the bus. At that time, there were 50,000 black people in this city, and all 50,000 said, we're going to do something to end segregation, not only in this city, but in this country. And they did it. And it was hard. They walked, they struggled, they fight. They would put on their Sunday best, they'd go places and get beaten and battered and bloody, and yet they kept fighting. They did something. And so we are sitting here tonight and about to experiencing an amazing cultural experience, amazing night of music. But I want to tell you that we're going to have to do something in this country. We're going to have to keep fighting. We're going to have to keep telling the truth. We created the legacy sites because we believe that there's a need for truth-telling in America. We believe we got to talk more honestly about the legacy of slavery. 10 million black people were enslaved in this country for over 246 years. And I believe we owe them the truth of their experience. We owe them memory. The justice we can give to 10 million black people who endured the immense suffering and constant sorrow of slavery is the truth. And so when people start saying we can't talk about that history, when they start trying to ban books, when they don't want people to learn about that history, they're doing something that's not only dishonest, I believe it is unjust. So I came over here this evening, and I'll tell you, I was provoked. Because apparently today the White House refused to acknowledge the Juneteenth holiday. Didn't say anything about it. And in a separate post, the president said we got to get rid of some of these holidays. And it breaks my heart because it's not the direction we need to go. So all I want to say to you is that because of what we've done this year and that and last year, in Montgomery, Alabama, we're not going back. We're going to have a Juneteenth here.
I wanna be no one but me. I am in love with a lover who likes me the way I am. I have my faults. He likes my faults. I'm not very bright. He's not very bright. He thinks I'm grand. Well, that's grand for me. He may be wrong, but if we get along, what do we care, say we? When he holds me close, close as we can be, I tell the lad that I'm grateful and I'm glad that I know nobody else but me. I wanna be the me. I am in love with a lover who likes me the way I am. I have my faults. He likes my faults. I'm not very bright. He's even less bright. He thinks I'm grand. Well, that's grand enough for me. He may be wrong, but if we get along, what do we care, say? When he holds me close as we can be, I tell the lad that I'm grateful and I'm glad that I tell the lad that